The new GDP figures released just in the last few minutes, showing the economy grew by more than expected, 0.7% in the first 3 months of this year, driven by growth in the services and production sectors.
Well, joining us now to congratulate the Chancellor is the Shadow Chancellor, Sir Mel Stride. Well, it's put a big smile on your face this morning. She seems to be getting it right.
Well, good morning, Susanna. Look, any growth, of course, is good news. But look, let's look at this more closely. If you look at a month-by-month data here from January through to March, in fact, the economy grew in February by 0.5%, but that fell away in March to 0.2%, so a bit of a downward trend at the end there. All the major forecasters, the IMF, the Bank of England, the OBR, for example, has halved their growth forecast for this year. From 2 to 1%. And of course, what this data doesn't capture is the national insurance increases for employers that's coming in. It came in April, will be being paid about now. The increase in business rates that we're seeing right across the country, and of course the employment legislation and the additional costs that is going to bring. So
well,
let's not pop the champagne corks just yet.
OK, but it's good that you recognise there is some good news, because what everybody wants is a growing economy, and as you say, at the moment, that's what's showing. You mentioned a point of difference, of course, which could affect growth, and that is employers' national insurance rising. So, if you were back in power, would you immediately cancel that rise?
So we would not have made that decision in the first place. We would have taken different decisions.
Really?
It's a tax on jobs that it's decided. I'm not going to be writing our manifesto, or indeed, hopefully, our first budget, which I hope to deliver in about 4.5, 5 years' time, on the programme this morning. So I'm not really in a position to do that.
I'm not asking you to write your budget. I'm asking you. You've criticised that national insurance rise.
Yes.
So viewers could quite legitimately take the view that if they voted Conservative, that's something that would then be withdrawn.
So we would not have taken that decision, but I don't think it's right.
Would you cancel it when you get back in?
I'm coming to that for a second time, to say that you're asking me to make a commitment that would relate to about 4.5 years' time.
I'm just asking you for a policy.
And we would need to. Yeah, no, that's
on principle. You've already said on principle you wouldn't have introduced it.
No,
look,
we wouldn't have done.
I'll tell you that, Mr. Stride, this is the problem, isn't it, with the Conservatives at the moment? People haven't got a clue what your policies are, so they don't know whether it's worth voting for you. And of course, people are currently, we've just had a massive vote in the local elections, and Tory councillors got an absolute pasting. So what people want to know is, on something really crucial like the national insurance rise, if I vote Conservative, would they get rid of it? I mean, it's very, you can easily have a policy on it right now.
No, well, I'm explaining why it wouldn't be appropriate to make a £25 billion fiscal commitment about 4.5 years before any potential budget that I might make as a Chancellor. That is not the best way to run the economy. You box yourself in and it's not right. But let me just make an important point here, which is that we would not have made that decision. We would have clamped down on welfare spending to a much higher and more effective degree than this government had. We would have been much more leaning into productivity, not giving away large pay rises to train drivers and junior doctors. Yes, and we did make significant savings, £5 billion, in fact, but we would have gone much further. And that would have given us the space to have avoided these kind of decisions in the first place.
All right, let's move on. Yesterday, Sir Edward Leigh, Tory MP, father of the House, of course, good colleague of yours, spoke very graphically about your party doing a deal with Reform. He says actually not to do a deal, and I quote him, is ridiculous. He said it has to happen. Do you agree?
Well, no, I don't. I don't think we should be doing a deal with Reform. Nigel Farage has made it his very clear avowed intent to destroy the Conservative Party. That is what he is all about. And this would not be a good match. I think it is a fallacy to assume that all supporters of Reform or all supporters of the Conservative Party are one and the same thing. They're not. So I don't accept that that is something that we should be doing. What we need to do...
tactically a good move to have Nigel Farage inside your tent, blowing out, rather than outside the tent, blowing in?
What we've got to do is recognise that we are in the position we're in because we did make mistakes and we did lose the trust of the British people, and that was expressed in the results of the general election.
Wouldn't it make sound tactics to do some sort of deal with a party that may very well destroy yours?
And to be fair, I think I have answered that question. I said it wouldn't be sound tactics to do that. But what I'm trying to explain is what we should be doing in respect of reform is recognising that there is a vacuum there that reform is filling, which is we are the none of the above party. People are understandably have had reservations about us in the past. We've got to regain that trust. The Labour Party is making a complete mess of many aspects of governing our country. What we've got to do is be an effective opposition and come forward through time with the policies and the deep thinking that will address the big challenges that our country has. And we have time to do that.
Susanna mentioned the results of the local elections 2 or 3 weeks ago. Analysis of those elections are now turning to your seat. Shows that you could actually lose to the Lib Dems in the next general election. That's what the data is showing, that you'd be out.
But you're extrapolating on a set of local elections now, 4.5 years before a general election. So the world will have changed in 4.5 years. That's a very long time in politics. What we've got to do as Conservatives, with the biggest renewal programme in 30 years for my party, you'd have to go back to the Thatcher era to see an exercise of this depth and magnitude, is to come up with the solutions for the economic challenges, for the tax challenges.
Because how much longer are we going to be doing interviews like this, where you're asked direct questions about what you do if you were in power, and the answer always seems to be, in effect, dunno?
No. Well, I'm not saying that at all, Richard. But I think people are fed up with people coming out with sound bites and announcements about how they're going to pull some magic lever and all the problems will be resolved. The problems we face as a country are very deep and very enduring, and there is not a 5 minutes worth of thought that will come up with the answers to addressing those kind of challenges. These are things that will take months, and some of these issues will run all the way up towards the general election in a few years' time. But we need to do that deep thinking. Now, Margaret Thatcher did that when she became leader of the Conservative Party in 1975. She spent 4 years coming up with solutions to the deep and intractable problems that Labour had delivered to us in the 1970s, including high inflation and trade unions and unemployment and so on. And she made a transformative change to our country. But she didn't do it, with great respect to you on your programme, by coming on to programmes like this and spending 25 billion here,
that would have been fun,
there, and making policies. You know, well, come and join our policy group. There we are. Come and join our policy group.
Mel Stride, it's always good talking to you. Thanks for your time this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much.